Hey guys, it's Barrett with the Gimpy Camper. So I just wanted to take a quick minute to do an update on a product that I recently gave a bad review. That product was called the Lippert Floe. That's F-L-O-E. Now what this product is basically it's a self-contained air compressor that's used to help winterize your rig that is permanently installed. So you don't have to hook anything up. All you do is you go in, you flip that on. It does have a manual cutoff switch that you have to open up. And that's just for safety because it does have some one-way valves built into it, but just for safety so water doesn't back up if the valve fails, they do have a manual switch there. But that's all you have to do. You turn that thing on and you flip that switch and you turn all your faucets and stuff on and it squirts air through there and you're done. For that reason, I really wanted to like this thing. I mean, I really wanted to, but whenever I did that, I turned it on the first time and it got really warm. It never built up pressure and turned off. And then it just never would turn on again. So I did leave it a bad review. Well, somebody from Lippert reached out to me. They wanted to make sure that I was happy with their product. And so they did send me a replacement product. I actually spoke on a video chat with them while I installed the replacement product. And when we hooked it up, I had a little bit of an issue with it. I mean, I don't know, it's like my camper's possessed or something. I disconnected the power wire that I had running up from the battery, and by using a 12-volt light, it showed that there was power there, but the other one wouldn't work. So when I connected the new one, it didn't work either for a minute, and I couldn't figure out why. I got a voltmeter out and it said there was 11.5 volts coming through the wire, which didn't make any sense because my lithium batteries were full. And so I went down to the storage area where I had the wire running from a power distribution center, and it had a light next to the fuse because it had blown the main fuse there, which I had also previously checked before we started. But I put that new fuse in and it just started right up. You know, the problem with this is spring is basically here and it's not winterized time anymore. And I think this last weekend was probably our last cold weekend that's going to dip much below freezing. And so I'm not really going to be able to test this system all that much until next winter. So you guys are going to have to hold off for like a long-term report of how well the system works for me. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you something here. So I did find that the system was turning back on and cycling. It was turning off this time, but it was turning back on after a couple of minutes. So I got back down in the basement here, and when I got down there, you could hear some air hissing, and I couldn't figure out what from. And I finally figured out that it was my pump. And so I actually took the second valve because I got a new everything in the box with this system. And so I took the extra shutoff valve and I put in the air line right there next to the pump. And that way I could manually turn it off and on, and I could help find this leak that I could hear. And so what I actually did with that, because I did that mainly so that the compressor wouldn't keep running and burn out. You know, the one thing that I will say about the compressor itself is it is fairly loud. It reminds me of one of those the little emergency kits you get for your car where you plug it in your cigarette lighter and turn it on. I mean, those aren't the quietest things in the world. Most people are going to mount this thing in their storage, so that's really not going to matter. I didn't have enough room to mount it in my storage, so I didn't mount it in my bathroom. It is a little loud there, but I'm not going to fault it for being loud because it is an air compressor. So that being said, I did hear some air and I couldn't figure out why. Now, I don't think that's what happened with the original compressor because it never once cycled off, never once. And so with this one, it did cycle off, but every couple of minutes it would turn back on because it was losing pressure somewhere. So at first I thought that it was losing pressure around where the T connector is that fits into the pump. And so I changed all that out, put some better hose clamps on there, didn't work. Went and got some like PEX type pipe and replaced the soft hose just to see if that would work. It gave it a more stable connection because that T connector does fit on like a shark bite fitting, but it's still, I could hear air. Now this compressor doesn't build up that much pressure because it stays safe for your water lines, and so it keeps the pressure down. And so it doesn't take that much to hold air in something and test for a leak. I found that out. We got our line coming in, we got our T. The top goes over, and that's where the freshwater tank comes in. So it comes over, down to the T, where the line is. They have the extra cutoff switch on. And then goes down, straight into the pump. If I take that off and take my hand and plug the hole, no air leak. This one comes out and goes up there to that to bring the water in the camper. If I do that same thing to this hose and plug it just with my finger, I can still hear air coming out somewhere in that pump. So then I hooked that back up, and I took the other end of the line off that comes right out of the pump, and I plugged that with my finger, and I could still hear air. So that told me that the leak had to be in the pump somewhere. Well, I went over that thing with a leak tester, couldn't find anything. So then I decided to unscrew it from the floor, and that way I could flip it over and look at it a little bit better. All right, I found the culprit. So when we turn this on, I'm gonna plug this hole. See those bubbles? There we go. After I did that, I did find out that there was some bubbling, so there was some cracking into the little filter that's attached to the pump right before the pump. And that's probably because the way that I always winterized my camper before is I used the water inlet valve to blow air into. Well, when you do that, the problem with that is that it doesn't winterize the pump. I did mention that in the video that I made about winterizing that I'll put up here. But I did say that that's going to be the weak link of the system, and I had never had any problems with it. But apparently I have had some problems with it. It wasn't a huge leak, but it was leaking a little bit right there. If you do need a new filter, I'm going to put that in the description for the SureFlow filter that I found on Amazon. It worked great. It was only 10 bucks, so I just replaced it. After I put that new filter on, everything worked fine. Couldn't hear any air leaking anywhere. And so the system seems to be working great now. I'm hoping that this is going to solve a lot of the issues that I've had with this. So since this system attaches to the line between the freshwater tank and the pump, it's going to push that air through the pump. And so it's going to take a lot of that, hopefully most of that water out that's in the pump. It's going to push it through the system and out the faucets. So I have a renewed trust in this system, but I'm going to have to tell you how it works out in the long run. I will say that Lippert had great customer service in helping me deal with the issue that I had. And if they helped me, I'm pretty sure that they'll help you, because I wasn't talking about them too nice in that last video. So just stay tuned and we'll see how it works next winter, and we'll give you an update, and we'll update you with all our new winterizing processes.
Do not forget to hit that subscribe button.